Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here on the channel Charles Morse. It's the United States alone that, the United States alone is sending a lot of its military support for Ukraine, Israel, and now Taiwan has actually been on the list now. Uh, this pretty much tells me that maybe China is now considering attacking Taiwan now that the United States is so distracted with sending military support for both Ukraine and Israel. Now that China could launch a surprise attack on Taiwan, and it's something that it is something that a lot of people should be highly aware of and that stuff. And I know that the United States has one of the strongest militaries in the world, like one of the biggest militaries in the world. Yeah, um but it's not just the United States itself that should send military support to both Ukraine, Israel, and now Taiwan. It should be our NATO allies is doing as much as the United States is doing for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. Now, the China-Taiwan war, I don't think has even really started yet, but it could happen at any time, and time itself can tell you exactly when that will happen. But you should be aware that the world is about to be engaged into a war, and there's a lot of terrorist countries out there that are all about war greed and that stuff, blowing up other countries because they just want to blow up other countries because they believe that that land belongs to them. And this is why all this military support from the United States actually comes around, or comes because for these countries that are under a terrorism threat. by terrorist countries like Iran and Russia and these other countries, possibly maybe the Taliban. Yeah, when terrorists strike at other countries, then normally that's where the United States just ends up saying, you know what, we're just going to send, these um, military support to the country's victims of being like countries that are victim of getting terrorized by these terrorists. So, yeah, military support's just gonna go to these countries. All right, and that is, I gotta say, probably as much different than having U.S. soldiers set foot on soil or on ground of the country that is getting attacked by terrorism. And that is different than support, because I think U.S. soldiers are, in my opinion, I believe they're much better trained than other militaries and other countries. But I mean, the U.S. has like one of the largest militaries in the world, so how are terrorists going to actually have how are they going to have that luck against the country that they're attacking when they have like military aid packages that are coming from the United States? How are they going to be able to how can the terrorists, how good can they be or do against U.S., like powerful U.S. military weapons? I mean, there are two aircraft carriers. I think they're two aircraft carriers that are they are intercepting missiles from Hamas, and the U.S. is making sure that terrorism ends. And Joe Biden said it himself. He said terrorism cannot win. Now, the United States alone is almost doing this, but what the United States actually really needs is support from their NATO allies to help win wars. I mean, how can it be just the United States itself when how can the United States be the only one that's defending all these countries that are victims of being terrorized by terrorism when our NATO allies are not as when they're not when the EU isn't really helping with this much. I mean, how does that even work? How can you stop out terrorism when it's just the United States that is just giving all this support to these countries that are right in the middle of terrorism? And our NATO allies are just not as doing as much as the U.S. is. I mean, how do you stomp out terrorism when it's only one country that is just, giving you all the military aid that countries that are being in the middle of terrorism? I mean, how does that even work? So, yeah. If our NATO allies were given as much support to help these countries that are being a victim of being in the middle of terrorism right now, much better chance that these countries are going to be able to stomp out terrorism. And not just the United States. If there were other countries that were doing as much as the United States is, then the countries that are being a victim of terrorism would have a better chance of stomping out terrorism. Terrorism is the most ugliest thing ever, and hopefully our NATO allies that are allies of the U.S., hopefully they can, do more to actually support Ukraine and Israel and Taiwan, and together, United States and NATO, they can help these countries stomp out terrorism. If these countries are in the middle of terrorism, which they are, Ukraine and Israel, and I don't know about Taiwan right now, but NATO and the United States, they need to work together and end this terrorism. And terrorism should not be able to win. Because right now, Ukraine and Israel is pretty much scared for their life right now because of this terrorism that is going on. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like what's said here, please comment, like, and subscribe to the channel, Charles Morse. And, terrorism cannot win. Have a good day. I will see you on my next video. And hopefully, the United States and NATO Hopefully, the United States and NATO, our NATO allies, can work together to help end this terrorism much quicker. Because the United States alone, this is just gonna, make the, excuse me, this is just gonna make it much slower for the countries that are being a victim of terrorism right now. This is just gonna make it short. Or this is just gonna make it longer for them. This is gonna make it longer for the victims of terrorism. This is just gonna be longer if it's just the United States alone that's sending this military aid to Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. Have a good day. I will see you on my next video.